Hello Friendzies, welcome to this video and welcome to our next Black content creator of this week for the month of February for Black History Month because the United States government may be trying to get rid of it, but that's not gonna fucking happen. Anyway, this is Ken Does Dolls. Literally obsessed. I found him fairly recently on Instagram, just like stumbling through like, you know, the liked feed and everything and like the suggested feed, and saw him through like a thread of posts that were about dolls, and I'm actually fucking obsessed. I was looking at his profile earlier and saw that he had a YouTube and like a bunch of other, like, he has his link tree, he has other accounts that he's on, which I haven't actually checked out yet because I only knew that he was on Instagram. And once I follow somebody, I'm not like super involved with their profile all the time. I just see their posts. You know what I mean? But I love this dude. I love doll accounts, but the fact that there's a Black man that is having a doll account is like chef's kiss, absolutely beautiful. I'm a doll girly. If you can't see my Calico Critter Sylvanian family little hot air balloon, I was gonna say figurine, but it's a hot air balloon specifically. Not this shelf right above me, but the shelf above that, my Monster High dolls that I have currently. I used to have the first gen dolls. I used to have most of the first gen dolls. I'm going to talk about that in a couple weeks, actually. Spoiler alert. But I'm a big doll girly. I was super into like the old porcelain dolls when I was little. I had so many Barbies and Polly Pockets when I was little that I've gotten rid of since. Same thing. I'm going to talk about that in a video in a couple weeks. But I just thought that was really cool that like another one of my special interests, like obviously anybody can have any interest at all, but I thought it was very cool that a Black man had a doll account. I thought that was so sick. Definitely go check out his Instagram. I know I'm going to be taking time and checking out his YouTube because what do you mean he's on YouTube? That's so exciting. I should have known that earlier, but like I said, once I follow somebody, I kind of just like their posts and go forward. I'm so sorry for this piece of hair. But yeah, definitely check out Ken Does Dolls. 10 out of 10. I was so excited to find this account and I love every single thing he posts. I'm hoping to keep up the energy that I have in this video because this is a video that actually is like tickling me pink and I'm very excited. But I don't know if you can tell, I'm especially pale today. You probably can't because of the makeup, but I'm especially pale today, and actively while I'm filming this, I'm in extreme pain. I'm okay, but I'm in extreme pain right now. So being extra pale during Black History Month, I feel like is a hate crime. I'm so sorry. Anyway, let's get into this week's video because we're gonna have fun with it, and I need to be very careful actually how much fun I have with it because I need to not do what I want to do. So there has been a lot of companies, because of all the fuck shit they've been pulling, whether actively supporting Israel or rolling back their DEI initiatives, all of that shit, like being cowards, only caring about the money. But there's one specific company that's been like in the news recently, and that in terms of like the internet and like what's happening in the world and like what's happening and who's pulling some bullshit and who's not, I'm late to this. However, I haven't had time to film this video, but also I'm very excited to do this. There's a very specific company that rolled back their DEI initiatives and were very like loud and proud about it, that I have a history with. So I just wanted to talk about that company because anybody who knows me in, you know, real life knows exactly what it was. It was my old shitty retail job. Have I said where I've worked before? I don't know. If you've seen in my past videos, if I've said specifically where I used to work at my shitty old retail job. I'm not going to name it again. Not in this video, just in case I possibly get in trouble. I don't know. I just can't afford to be sued. You know what I mean? I don't got money for defamation lawsuit. So I'm not gonna like name names, but I want to talk about my experience with this company because I already fucking hated this company with every bone in my body, and now everybody else hates them. And like for me, it's like, yay. Because I already knew the bullshit they were pulling, but now everybody else knows the bullshit they were pulling. And I mean, realistically, it's a company. Like most companies are going to be pulling some kind of bullshit. If it's not specifically DEI, it's probably, you know, OSHA violations, like things like that. But now that like everybody knows and their shareholders said, hey, what the fuck are you doing? We didn't approve of that, you absolute morons. Now I'm excited to talk shit. So let's get into it. Now, a lot of this, like, if you also work in retail or food service or like anything that's essentially not, white collar office job, none of this is probably going to be news to you. You're going to be watching this and being like, yeah. But if you are somebody who lives in another country and like has different types of experience with retail, food service, whatever, if you have never worked in retail or food service, congratulations. What's it like to be God's favorite? Or if you just like have always been a consumer and you've never known like an inside scoop of things, this is the video to watch. So it was a company that treated their employees poorly. Again, anybody who knows already knows, preaching to the choir here, treated their employees poorly. I can't say those two words next to each other. And just did like, a lot of bullshit. But my personal experience, I was not the only gay person that worked there, but I was the most obnoxious about being gay and working there. And I had a direct manager that was like definitely homophobic. You know what I mean? Like she very much tried to pull like the haha, like I'm just like a silly girl, like I'm an ally, but like she was definitely homophobic because there's no explanation as to why her beef was so strong with me as compared to everybody else. I didn't have beef. I went to get a paycheck and leave. And she decided that I was public enemy number one. So girl was definitely homophobic. At one point, I had a coworker. Their pronouns were its. They also did use they, them while they were working at the company because its was a little harder for people to grasp, which I 1000% like get where they're coming from. And I also get the other perspective of it. I'm going to be very good and use their pronouns now, but I just wanted to like put that out there. So it was my new coworker loved it. We were best friends. We literally were best friends. The only two people in that bitch that were like that gay and that obnoxious about it. And it got targeted all of the time. When it was wearing name tags with like the they, them pronouns on it, the direct manager that was definitely homophobic would go out of her way to misgender it. Out of her fucking way to misgender. Insane behavior. And it was a point where like the two of us would be working together, me and my coworker that I absolutely loved, and this bitch would go out of her way to not even necessarily separate us, but like fully do whatever she could on the sales floor to like try to embarrass us, try to like reprimand us in front of people. Like it was crazy when we were actively doing our jobs. In my department of the store specifically, I was in like clothing and everything. We maybe had 2 Black people on our team in the 9 years that I worked there. There were Black people that worked in the store, mind you. 1 woman worked in beauty, in like the beauty department. Any other Black coworkers I had at any point usually worked in like market, electronics. But to be quite honest, in the 9 years I worked there were not a lot of Black people that worked there. There were not. We had multiple managers over the years that were actively racist. Actively. Didn't necessarily say the N-word, but that doesn't make anything different. One of my coworkers at one point was a Black girl. And she was treated so poorly. She ended up leaving and going into like I believe it was like music production, because she had a degree and she ended up finding a job in that field, and I'm so happy for her. I hope she's doing well. But they treated her, she was like public enemy number one while she was in that department. We also had a manager. We had one manager at one point in my department, and I loved her to death. I hope she's doing well. Loved her. She was actively bullied by all the other management. At one point I had management. It was like a group of like 3 or 4 ladies, which like, hey, diversity win. The predominant amount of managers at that store were women in the 9 years that I was there. So like diversity win, like I said. But at one point there were like 5 of 6 of them all like the head of, the store. And they looked like Hitler Youth. I'm not gonna fucking lie to you. They looked like Hitler Youth, okay? So just like crazy shit like that. Anybody else that was like gay in that store really just like was very quiet about it. It's like, the one minority I can speak of as being gay. But A lot of them were very quiet about it, and like that's their own choice. I'm not saying they did anything wrong. I'm saying I think a lot of the reason why a lot of them were quiet is because of how homophobic the managers were. Because the one girl specifically that would go out of her way to misgender and like fuck up the pronouns of my coworker, she would attack me all the time. She never got punished for anything. Girl was committing microaggressions, but still hate crimes. Like, girl was committing levels of hate crime and never once got punished for anything. Anything. Nuts. And also, this company, like, okay, let's pull a little back from DEI, right? Let's pull a little bit back from that. Some of you are a little nervous because you don't actually know the definition of DEI. Let's pull a little bit away from that. At one point, there was a guy that worked there that it took a year and a half to do anything about the fact that he was sexually harassing all of the girls, like 22 and under, because, you know, we have like 16-year-olds that work there. He was sexually harassing everybody, like 22 and under, for a year and a half, to the point where it was getting violent and he was threatening us. He didn't fuck with me, thank goodness, but he fucked with my friends. And he fucked with the young teenagers that worked there. A year and a half, and he was like getting increasingly violent. He didn't actively grab anybody or touch anybody at any point. Thank everything holy, but like verbal threats and getting like verbally abusive. A year and a half before they did anything, because they were like, we can't really do much. No, you can fire him, put his pictures in the office, and make sure that bitch doesn't come in and keep harassing everybody. We had a couple instances of like random men that would come to our store and start following women and like harassing the women and everything. Not even just the employees. Like, let's say you don't give a shit about employees, right? Customers were getting followed and put in very uncomfortable situations where it was definitely like stalking and sexual harassment. And nobody, I almost said the company, nobody in management or security fucking cared. There was one night where a coworker of mine was like, fuck that, I'm walking this woman out to her car because she's scared and this guy's being creepy. She got yelled at and written up for abandoning her post. Guess what? It's me popping in. I should always wear like a different outfit for this, but I film it together. Anyway, it's me popping in to remind you about our two Palestinian families. Rami's family, who has a goal of $75K to get themselves and their family out of what's happening in Palestine. It has been so much worse, which is weird because you wouldn't think that anything could get worse than all of the other things that we've seen coming out of Palestine and Gaza. And I know that most of the people in the United States have been focused on what's happening in the United States because it's been really ooky spooky scary, but Palestine is still being slaughtered. Palestine is still in the middle of a genocide and a Holocaust. It's still fucking happening. If we can help get these families out, then that's all that we need. Bite-sized goals. I would love to get them to 75K a hell of a lot faster than they are right now. I'm gonna get upset. I'm gonna cry. But bite-sized goals, we can help. They need help. We can help. Everybody donate $5. We can get them over 8K, and then we can continue doing the goal to 75K. And Abdullah's family, who has a final goal, I have it written down because I like to remember the exact, $113,390. Again, bite-sized goals. Everybody here donate $5. We can get them to the goal of $2,500, and then again, we can take the steps to get there. I'm not gonna cry, because that's not productive, but we have to help somebody. We have to help somebody. Everybody all over the world right now needs help. The Palestinians need our help the most, and that's really scary. We have to help somebody. Everybody here, $5 minimum. Do it for both families. $10. That's all we need. Okay? I was stalked for 6 months. 6 months. I was stalked for 6 months by this creepy motherfucker who followed me into the back room. The only reason he didn't follow me fully and grab me in the back room where there were no security cameras and an exit door that was not monitored and was usually unlocked, was because some other kid in a different department was fucking around and not being out where he was supposed to be, and like was wandering around in the back room because he didn't want to work. Okay. And we had, you know, a locked door with a keypad to get to like the break room, you know, because we have the safes back there and everything. They didn't actually give a shit about our safety. He followed me to that and was like shaking the door handle and trying to get me. One person in all of that management team at the time, because our manager switched out fairly quickly, one person gave a shit. One person gave a shit. And like, surprisingly, it was a man. Isn't that crazy? Ahia was apparently, quote unquote, the worst store director we've ever had. Okay? He was the only one, because he'd make sure I was in that like locked door area, and he would walk the store until this creepy motherfucker left. One security person in the store. One of them cared about me, the only woman we had at the time that was in security. She would walk me to my car at night when he was stalking me, because like she gave a shit. Nobody else did. Mind you, this man was said that he was the worst store director we've ever had by other management. Then we had some white bitch being our store director. Her name was Sarah. And like, no offense to the Sarahs out there. Like I have met maybe 2 Sarahs in my 29 years of living that have not been horrible people. I'm sorry, Sarahs, that they give you a bad rap, but like, interesting. Anyway, yeah, I had one store director that literally at one point, one of my friends that I'm still friends with now, like my old coworker, but one of my friends I'm still friends with, her mother and her sister both worked there. Her mother had multiple accommodations because of different medical issues she had. Her sister had a couple medical accommodations because of, you know, medical issues that she has. And at one point, this woman was like, was overheard, mind you. She was overheard, so she clearly wasn't like being quiet about it. She was just in her office, so she was thinking nobody was gonna fucking hear her, talking about how she doesn't care about all this accommodation bullshit. She wants to see results. She did leave and was told not to return, but it took too long. You know what I mean? Like, that took too long for it to happen. I've had 2 store directors, weirdly enough, that have been men that have actually like given a shit about like who I am as a person and not just like a little worker bee. And it was 2 different men. The second one, I actually like fucked with him hard, and he was very nice. He was very like ally. Like at one point I had, who remembers it? I don't know if I remember. I did show it in a video. I had that like fold out fan that you could smack out and it was iridescent and said queer on it. And I carried it around with me, especially during June, because again, most obnoxious gay person in that store, and I made sure nobody could forget it. But I walked around with that fan all the time in my pocket, especially because it was summer and it was fucking hot and the air conditioners were not working. I lost it one day because it fell out of my pocket, or I put it down somewhere, I don't remember. But I lost it one day, and he went out of his way to like grab security and make sure everybody was looking for it. We found it, thank goodness. So that was cool. And then like, that was like summer, and by November, he was told by corporate that if he didn't do exactly what they wanted him to do, which was not going to happen, because his wife traveled for work all the time, and he was a store director, so he was like busy all the time, but she was going to be home for like a couple months, I guess, because whatever her company was doing, so like he wanted to spend the holidays with her, and corporate was like, no, you have to do XYZ, and you have to do like everything we say, and you can't take vacation during this like season. And he went, actually, fuck you, I'm going to leave. And then there was like a smear campaign against him throughout the entire store, like from corporate and from all of the managers that were quote unquote friendly with him. Like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. So if you know what company I'm talking about, if you don't live under a rock and you don't know which company I'm talking about, let's say you don't give a shit. Let's say you're homophobic and you're racist and you don't give a shit about all of the other things I'm talking about. If you are a woman or a feminine identifying person, and you don't care about anybody else, but you worry about like the safety of you, and you want to go all Handmaid's Tale about the state of the country right now, okay? Take in the fact that multiple women, were sexually harassed for a year and a half and nobody in our management gave a shit. And the thing is, it's not a store specific thing. Like, it is a deep rooted from corporate problem. It really is, because they do not have any kind of system in place, and they honestly probably don't fucking care. Multiple women for a year and a half were sexually harassed, and I was stalked and almost kidnapped. And we've had multiple customers harassed and followed and almost kidnapped. There was a guy at one point that was in the parking lot wandering around actively sabotaging people's like women's cars, like doing the sugar in the gas tank kind of trick, actively doing that. And it was on store property. There's no way in fuck there was nothing they could do. I don't believe that for a second. So again, if you don't give a shit about like workers, think about the fact that if you shop at this company, there's a chance that if you get followed or harassed or your car gets messed up, especially if you're like shopping there at night because the store is open quite late, the company and like the security team is probably not going to give a shit unless you get super lucky and get those one or two people that are working in the store that actually like are decent human beings because they need to pay rent. You're shit out of luck because the company as a whole and most of the management does not care about you. So just wanted to put that out there because there's been some talk about that company in the news. Even their shareholder said, you guys are fucking stupid. We're losing money because of you. And guess what? They've been losing a lot of money, and it makes me smile because I don't have to work there anymore. And to anybody that does work at that company or still does or used to, and like, but you feel, you had certain opportunities through there, like, I love you so much, and this is not talking shit. I'm not wishing on their downfall in the sense of like you guys are going to lose your jobs, because I hope that if that company does genuinely have a downfall, that all of you can find jobs that pay your rent and give you the health insurance. Like, I genuinely do. But as somebody who worked there for 9 years and was verbally and mentally abused all of the time and like has a lot of issues now as a result of how I was treated for 9 years, I hope that company goes up in fucking flames. I hope they go up in flames, baby. The sales on their fig bars, though, I do need other stores to get up on that sale, because my mom and I love those fucking fig bars, and they're so good for her when she has her little like dizzy spells. They're great, and I would like to buy a jumbo box at any other fucking retailer and not have to pay what they charge. This company had decent sales on the jumbo boxes. That's the only thing I will say. Anybody who works there, I love you so much, and I hope your job is safe and secure. That was the only thing about working there as long as I did. It was a guaranteed paycheck. And I was getting paid not a livable wage, but like as compared to the job I have now, I was getting paid significantly more. I mean, for the physical trauma of like what that job does to your body and the emotional, mental, and verbal abuse that I was suffering every day. You know what I mean? It's like a toss-up. But anybody who still works there, I love you so much. I hope you're okay. Get your paycheck. I totally understand. But anybody who shops there, I am gonna say maybe keep those things in mind. If you were an employee, they can't hate you to your face if you shop there because you're bringing them money that they desperately want and need. But just know that they don't fucking care about you. They don't care about you. They're willing to risk violence to women as long as sales are being made. Which is weird considering that I think across the country, but my location specifically was predominantly women in the workforce and in management. White women think DEI doesn't affect us. It does. That's the reason all of those bitches were in management positions. That's literally the reason why. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you check out Ken Does Dolls. Obsessed. If you're a doll collector and you shop at this specific retailer, he had a video. The day I'm filming this, it's going to be like later on his Instagram feed, I'm sure. But he went somewhere. It was like a really cool, like, second-hand place. And a lot of the dolls that were at that store that were sold out or like super hard to find were at the store that he went to. So cheap, like $5.99. And some of those dolls are like $30. That's crazy. Love him. 10 out of 10. All right, Friendsies, I'll see you in the next video.